Hey, I'm Charles with Rocky Mountain, and today I'm going to be showing you how to install a Tusk Stage 2 upgrade kit on your Honda Talon. Now, the Stage 2 kit, that is the middle of the line kit, so you're going to get some additional features over the Stage 1 kit. Now, what this kit includes is a folding glass windshield. This thing is going to give you full coverage in the front, and it's made out of laminated safety auto glass, and it's going to stay looking good for a long time. Next, we have the pivot folding mirrors. Now, what's nice about these is if you hit something with them, they're going to pop out of the way and you can fold them right back out. Moving to the back of the machine, you've got your Polycarb Rear Window. That thing is scratch resistant and it's going to help enclose the cab. You're also going to be getting lower door inserts. Those things look good and they're going to help keep mud and debris outside of the cab. So that's a brief overview of what comes inside of the kit. So with that being said, let's get these installed. So right here we have the pivot folding mirror kit. This comes with the mounts and some spacers along with some hardware, but we do need to use some hardware out of our folding glass windshield since we're doing additional mounts on the A-pillars. And then the nuts for the A-pillars, we're just going to use the stock ones. Now, as far as tools go, you're going to need a 14mm shallow socket and a deep socket. Then we're using a 13mm combo wrench and an alignment punch. For the folding glass windshield, we have a filler panel, some trim pieces, foam tape. Then we also have the hardware mounting brackets and our windshield wiper. Now, with this stuff, the main thing you need to know about it is, number one, lay it out in order and compare it to the instructions that come with your kit. Make sure everything's there. Number two, you have two options for mounting this windshield. So you can use some mirrors with it. Obviously, we have the pivot folding mirrors. So we're not going to use these smaller bolts, but we are going to use the bigger ones and these spacers. To start out, we're going to remove both of these bolts going through the A-pillars, and that's going to allow us to be able to install the windshield mounts and our mirror mounts. Now with this lower bolt, this one's being kind of stubborn, it's hard to get out. So I'm going to take an alignment punch and move that roll cage and pull the bolt out. We're going to start with the mirror mount. Now the mounts, they do have a bend to them, and this one, the bend is going to be facing away from the cab when it's installed. So behind that, we're going to run two spacers. And like we mentioned in the parts shot, we're going to be using these longer bolts. And we're just going to use our punch to help line up the A-pillars while we install one of the bolts. Next, we've got our spacers, so we'll slide those on. And then you have the bracket for the folding half windshield. Now, there is a right and a left, so these are going to go on the A-pillar, hang down, and then cut in towards the cab. And like we mentioned before, now we can reinstall the stock nut. Now at this point, we're not going to tighten down the hardware yet. We do want to have a little bit of adjustability with this, so we'll do that at a later step. Now we're going to do the same thing on the other side. The only difference is this bracket, it's actually going to be facing towards the inside of the cab. Now we can install both mirrors. Two things to keep in mind. Number one, these are going to be different left and right, so just put them on so you can read the logo. Then you're going to use your combo wrench, remove this 13mm bolt. And before you remove that, just keep in mind that you have the star washer, and that's going to go in between the mirror and the mounting bracket. And this one, I'm just going to snug it so it's pretty close to where we want it. And then once we have this bracket adjusted, then we'll go back through and tighten down all this hardware. Now before you install your windshield, you're going to have to prep some stuff on it. So the first thing we're going to do is prep the vents. So each side is going to have 3 brackets, a friction washer. You're going to have 3 M6 nylock nuts, 2 regular M6 nuts. You've got a knob and 5 M6 by 16 millimeter bolts. First, we're going to install bracket A. Now, you can get this mixed up and you don't want to. So if you get the wrong bracket A on the wrong side, it's going to be facing down. So this tab right here, it's going to face up towards the top and then to the outside of the windshield. We'll come in with the bolts from the front side of the windshield and put the regular M6 nut on the back. And we're going to leave these loose until we have everything adjusted up. Then I'm going to move on to bracket C. So the tab on this one is going to be facing bracket A. And then again, 2 M6 bolts from the front. We've got the nylock nuts on the back. Now for bracket B, you'll notice that it has an arc and a tab at the top. So you want yours in the same orientation we do. We're just going to turn this 90 degrees and the tab's going to be facing the inside of the windshield. We're going to take the M6 bolt. We'll go through the mounting bracket or bracket C first, then through bracket B, and the nylock nut is going to go on the back. Then we're going to take our knob and we're going to put it through bracket B, and then the friction washer will be between bracket B and bracket A. If you did everything right, this is what it should look like, and then you can go back through and start tightening down the bolts. Now keep in mind, on this pivot, you're not going to tighten this down all the way. I'm just going to go till it lightly touches bracket B, where that nut does, and then I'm going to back it off about 1/8 of a turn, and then the other ones will be snug down all the way. Then once you have everything tightened down, you can loosen that knob up. Make sure this rotates freely through the full range of motion. Then you can go ahead and do those same steps on the passenger side. Now we're going to install the bulb seal. So going from one side to the other, we've got a 5.5 inch piece, a 9.5, 13.5, 9.5, and a 5.5. And just make sure you're pressing it all the way on and that the bulb seal is facing in towards the cab. Now at the top of the windshield, where it's going to contact that filler panel, we're going to lay down this foam tape. And this is the shorter piece of foam. So now on the filler panel on the back side that's going to sit against the frame, we're installing some foam tape. Now on the two sides, you're going to cut a short piece that's going to go right next to that mounting bolt hole. And then the foam piece that goes across the top, just keep in mind, you want to keep that as low as you can, but just above the bolt hole. Keep that straight. And the reason for that, if you're running a stock roof, you're going to have to run this flap seal. So that's the case with us. If you have the Tusk aluminum roof already, then you're not going to have to run this, and you can put the tape almost wherever you want it, as long as it doesn't interfere with those mounting holes. So now we're going to flip the filler panel over. We're going to install this flap seal, and this is going to be facing out away from the machine. To get the filler panel installed, we're going to use a 6mm Allen to remove 2 of the front mounting bolts for the roof, and then we have 1 in the middle. That's going to be a T25. Now we're going to install the filler panel. So we're going to set that in place. We've got a couple mounting locations on those gussets. There's a couple holes right there. So we're just going to have to push up on the roof a little bit. We're going to slide this in there. And then we've got the 2 of the M8 bolts. We're going to put the nylocks on the back side. And just keep in mind that all this hardware is still going to be left loose for now. Next, we're going to set the windshield in place. It is better if you have a friend help you do this, and we're going to have those knobs ready to go to stick into the tops to hold it in place. Now to get the knob ready, you're going to install the washer, then you have the rubber grommet that just goes right on. We'll go ahead and screw that in. Now we need to attach the windshield to these brackets. So we've got the M8 nylock that's going to be on the back. Fold that down, and then you've got 3 of these M8 button head bolts coming through the front on each side. And we'll do the same thing on the other side, and again, all this stuff is loose. And then from here you can adjust the filler panel and the folding glass windshield for your optimal fitment, and then go back through and tighten down all of the hardware. And that's going to include these mirror brackets and the brackets that hold this windshield in place. Now just keep in mind when you're tightening down these mirrors, it might be a good idea to sit in the passenger seat, get these snug, adjust them where you need them, and then do the final tightening. Next, we're going to install the standoff brackets. Now with these, you're going to have a left and right side. The correct bracket for each side will have this top portion level, and that rubber button is going to be towards the back of the machine. So once you've determined which side is which, you can unscrew the knob, and then you're going to set this on the side like this. Screw the knob in the back of it. We want to be able to adjust this, so it's going to be a little loose. And then we've gone ahead and put some painter's tape on our machine where the bracket's going to mount, and that way we can draw on it. We're just going to use a Sharpie to mark where the brackets go. Then we'll use a 1/4-inch drill bit to drill those out. Then we can go ahead and remove our tape. Then we're going to take the longer M6 button head bolts. We're going to stick those through both sides. Then we've got a washer and a nut that's going to go on the back side. Now we're going to set the windshield back down onto the standoffs, and we're going to install the windshield wiper. So with this There's a plug right here. I'm just going to use some pliers to press in on the tabs on that back side. We'll press this through. And then for the handle, we're going to remove this smaller nut. Then we'll remove the bigger one. We've got a washer and a grommet. And then we're going to stick the knob through the back side, install the grommet, then the washer, and then the bigger nut. And we're going to use two 17mm open end wrenches to tighten this down. Next, we're going to prep the wiper. So on this, we have two tabs. Press in on those. Then you'll have this cover that pops up. Take the arm, slide it through, hook it on the wiper and pull it back. Then you can pop the cover down. Then we're going to raise the windshield up. Now make sure you pull this knob out so you don't drop it, or that arm. Then we'll stick the lever back through. And then you're going to want to have the wiper arm in line with that lever. Now installing this is a little bit different than installing an automotive style wiper. So you can't just bend this at 90 degrees and set it where you want it. You kind of have to have some tension on that spring while you press this down. And then once you get that straight with the lever, you want to install the nut on the end and tighten it down. And we'll press down on the cover and we'll move the wiper out of the way. After that, you can go ahead and reinstall the knobs into the top. Now we're going to go ahead and reinstall the stock hardware into the roof. Next, we've got the rear window. We're going to remove this protective film from it. Now we're going to install the bulb seal to the top and bottom of the window. Keep in mind that the bottom bulb seal, it has that fitting groove 90 degrees to it, where the top bulb seal, it has that fitting groove straight across from it. And then also the one on top is going to be just a little bit shorter. So this bulb seal for the bottom is going to be facing in towards the cab, and we're going to be starting in this corner. Now we're going to slide in the rear window in between the roll cage at the back. Just pay attention to where it's resting at the top as well. Now we can install the 4 Velcro clamps. Now with these, I'm just wrapping it around the roll cage. We're just doing a loop through that bar on the clamp. So for the lower door inserts, we've got our hardware, and the tools to install that are going to be your 5mm Allen. We've got a Phillips screwdriver, a Sharpie, 13mm combo wrench, and a 5/16 inch drill bit. The first thing we're going to do is install the bulb seal, and make sure the seal itself is facing the inside of the door. Next, we're going to start on the passenger side door. So to get this ready, we need to remove the 8 Phillips head screws from the door frame. And that's going to allow us to remove the outer panel. Now we're going to take the door insert and we need to line this up. So it's going to be nice to have somebody help you hold this in place while you mark the drilling locations. But all you're lining up, this outer edge, you want that to be flush. And then this long side, you want that outer edge to be flush with the outside of the door frame. There's 3 holes that we're just going to use a Sharpie to mark their locations. Now that we have our locations marked, we're going to drill them out. Now we're going to take one of the button head bolts with a washer on it. We're going to come up through the bottom, through that hole we just drilled, and put a nut on top. And we'll do the same thing for the other 2 holes. Then you can adjust this for the best fitment and tighten your bolts. Next, we're going to reinstall the outer panel and the 8 screws. And then we'll do the same thing on the other side. And that's how you install the Tusk Stage 2 Upgrade Kit on your Honda Talon. Now, if you have any questions about this kit, leave those down in the comments below. And if you need this kit or any other accessories for your side-by-side, be sure to check out our website and subscribe to our channel for more helpful content. I'm Charles with Rocky Mountain. Thanks for watching.